It's happened to everyone at some point. You weren't chosen. You were left out, passed over, or even replaced. It sucks. Maybe you weren't useful or relevant anymore. Most of us hide that panic. We call it maintaining composure. But in 1995, Pixar didn't hide it. They built an entire architecture of it, and they used a cowboy doll to teach an entire generation about the anatomy of being forgotten. The brilliance of the first Toy Story movie isn't the animation, it's the craftsmanship of the pacing. Look closely at the moving day sequence. It's agonizing, and it's agonizing on purpose. And frankly, it's one of my favorite scenes in film history. The creators understood a fundamental rule of suspense. You don't tell the audience the character is panicked. You build a room that makes panic the only possible reaction. Compress the environment until there's nowhere to look except the fear. They use the ticking clock of the moving truck as a rhythmic device, a constant auditory assault that mirrors the cognitive dissonance happening in Woody's mind. Every box that gets sealed is a door closing. Every piece of furniture that disappears is one more piece of evidence that the world he understood is being dismantled around him, without his input and without his consent. They didn't just write a scene about a toy getting lost. They engineered a scene about the precise slow-motion destruction of a sovereign identity. And they did it with a countdown clock the audience can feel in their chest before they can name it. Watch what happens to Woody's status in the room as the boxes stack up. He goes from the toy who calls the meetings to a toy standing on a shelf, watching decisions get made without him. Nobody says a word to him about it directly. That's the part that stings. The demotion isn't announced. It's just implied by where the camera puts him in the frame. Psychologists call this state of hypervigilance Anxious-Preoccupied Attachment. It's a framework defined by a desperate, chronic fear of abandonment, where a person's entire sense of self-worth is tethered to the availability of a caregiver, or in this case, a child. When Woody is displaced, he doesn't just experience stress, he experiences a total psychological foreclosure. His caregiver, Andy, has shifted focus, and for Woody, that isn't a change in circumstance. It's an existential threat. There's no negotiating with it, no reasoning it down, because the fear isn't really about the truck or the new house. It's about relevance itself, disappearing in real time. When we watch him spiral, we aren't watching a toy malfunction. We're watching the biological manifestation of what happens when the brain is denied the security it was built to rely on. The clinging, the sabotage, the desperate bids for attention. That's not a character flaw scriptwriters invented for drama. It's textbook. It's what real people do when the ground they built their identity on starts to move. Look at how Woody treats Buzz once Buzz arrives. He doesn't just dislike the new toy, he tries to eliminate the threat entirely. Because in an anxious, preoccupied mind, a rival for the caregiver's attention isn't a coworker, it's an existential competitor. That's not petty jealousy, that's a nervous system protecting the one bond it thinks it can't survive without. We love this film not because the toys are cute. We love it because the craftsmanship is so good that it bypasses our logic and goes straight for our primal hardware. We project our own insecurities onto the plastic, and suddenly the moving truck isn't a plot point anymore. It's the reminder that our own value is often treated as conditional. By a job, a relationship, a room that used to have space for us and quietly doesn't anymore. And that's the trick. You came for a kid's movie about a cowboy and a spaceman, and you left recalibrating something about your own life you hadn't looked at directly in years. The tears you felt at that moment were real. The stimulus wasn't. Your brain knows the difference, but your body doesn't care. That ache isn't nostalgia. It's recognition. You know exactly what it feels like to matter less than you used to, and no one telling you first.